And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and we're here talking to Derrel Sims about his book, Alien Hunter, The Evidence in Light. And if you're enjoying the programming today, which I'm totally enjoying the programming today, please do mark this show as a favorite. And if you haven't come into the chat room, you can surely join us. Derrel, before the break, I said that we were going to talk about the physical evidence because that's one of the pieces that you really bring to the forefront. I mean, everyone else is talking about pictures and whatever, and not that many people talk about physical evidence, especially physical evidence that abductees bring back, which I think is huge. So what kind of things do you find or have been found by people that have been abducted?
Well, this is my favorite part of our interview, and again, your questions are brilliant. The fact is that abductees, unbeknownst to them, they'll come to a meeting where I'm at, or even in fact at the meeting where I first met you at the Ghost Convention. I was very, very surprised that there were as many abductees that came forward and told me privately they were abductees, and that was what was going on with their life. And I told them, and I'm in contact with several of them to this day from that convention. And the thing I told them was to start looking for from in their events when you have these very strange dreams, where you have a dreamlike state, but you know it's real, but you can't, but you know it's not, but you know it is, but you can't really make up your mind. I said, one of the things you want to do is take a black light out and check yourself the next morning or that night, whenever you got one. It's just a regular black light. You can buy at a hardware store or a head shop, that lights up these black lights, black light posters and things like that. That's all it does. It's 267 nanometers, and it will, if you have been physically touched by one of those entities, physically touched that last night, it is highly likely that the fluorescence pattern will show up on you within that 24-hour period. And, of course, when people see that, and I'll give you a quick example, lady came to my house one day after one of our abductees, and she said, Mr. Sims, I've just got to talk to you. Please let me come over. And I said, okay, come on over. And she says, I had this really strange dream, and I know it's not true, and abductees always do this. They'll always say it. I know it's not true, and I know I made it up. I know I must have just imagined this in a dream, and it couldn't possibly be true. But in the dream, they made me hold one of their little entities, their little baby-like entities, and I didn't want to, and I told them no. They said, it's going to die if you don't hold it and nourish it. And she said, I didn't know what to do, and I hated it. And I said, well, what did you do? And she said, well, I finally picked it up, and I held it, and I said, exactly how? She showed me exactly how she put her right hand on its bottom, and how she put the left hand toward its mouth, and she actually suckled it, and so on, part of their little experimentation thing. And she went along with it because she didn't want it to die, and that's really amusing. And I said, and how exactly did you hold it, and what you do, and everything. And she told me, and I said, okay. I said, now what I want you to do is close your eyes. And I pulled my specialized black light out, and I turned it on, and her hand where she held his little bottom, and her hand where she touched next to its mouth, and I had, my wife was there, and I had her check her breast as well, go into the bathroom with her and check her privately. And she came back and reported that there was a pink fluorescence on her breast, and it was already on her hand, where she had it near its mouth. In other words, where the fluid was coming from. Mm-hmm. And there was another fluorescence in her hand, on the other hand. And of course, when the lady saw this, she was just scared half to death, because the dream that she thought was a dream that she made up, that what couldn't possibly be true, was. It was all true. And the fluorescence that we're looking for is not the fluorescence that could accidentally get on you from cat urine or from lotion or anything. It's not anything like that. The fluorescence, as it's in my book on Alien Hunter, the evidence in light, and that term in light means visible light, X-ray, ultraviolet light, which we're talking about here, and infrared light. Because the alien uses that large black eye, that covering, it allows him to see in all four of those ranges at the same time. A lot of times people say, they were scanning me. It was like they were scanning me, looking at me. What were they looking for? They're actually looking in you. They actually are scanning you. It is an accurate statement. They really are. In other words, well, they're godlike, they're not. I said, there are lenses that are being developed currently right now for doctors to be able to do the same thing now. I said, that has nothing to do with God. It has to do with tech. I said, don't mix the two up. It's not the same thing.
All right, now I'm going to ask a question because, going back to your other comment about the upgrade, so kind of what you're saying is they got like upgraded lenses to scan. Well, I'm kind of smart sometimes.
Listening to you and I laughed about 90% of your presentation that I heard at the conference. I laughed halfway through it because your humor was so sharp and so good. I felt like there were a number of people that missed it, that they were so interested in your material they missed the humor part of it as well. And I was just delighted at your presentation and thought you were an excellent presenter. And so it just you tickle me whenever you make these comments. I mean, they're just you can speak on several different levels at the same time, and most people don't do that or can't.
Thank you.
And I like that. It's most. I guess people thought I probably had a problem, like I was laughing at you. And I told one lady, I said, no. I said I'm listening to her on several levels, and I said she's very entertaining, but she didn't say anything funny. I said, oh, well, she did. Anyway, it was just a riot to listen to you. So
I knew you weren't laughing at me, but you were laughing so hard it was distracting.
It was. I was just beside myself. I'd not had so much fun at a conference because usually when I go, you've heard all these people before, and they basically have the same thing to say all the time, and they're not usually very entertaining. They're usually just trying to sell product or whatever. And you were quite honest and quite, and I mean this in the kindest way, even for the other speakers. You kind of didn't have anything to sell, so to speak. I mean, by that I mean, I don't mean product. I mean, you weren't trying to tell everybody it has to be this, and this all it is. You were telling them, this is my experience, this is what I found, and you were very credible about the way you did that. And I personally thought that was decent.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel the same way about you. It's kind of like, well, I don't know. I don't know where they come from. I mean, I feel like, there's this level of honesty of this is what I've seen, this is what I've looked at, this is what people have told me, not that I necessarily believe it, but, but if they come day glow pink and it don't wash off,
well, this
I might talk to you.
This fluorescence will actually penetrate the skin on contact subdermally. By that I mean when it penetrates the skin, and I'm looking at a case right here on my computer of a lady, one of our abductees here in Houston, who's had quite a few cases of evidence of fluorescence on her. And in this particular case, this is the only case I've ever had like this, where the fluorescence has a specific mark underneath it. And in my book, Evidence in Light, two things I bring out about fluorescence that are glaringly clear. One of them is that the fluorescence, some of the fluorescence is due to casual contact. In other words, a long finger or fingers on you in a fluorescent form, where they touched you. They imagine it like sweat, alien sweat, so to speak, that penetrates your skin on contact, and it won't wash off. You can't get it off at all. The body will finally absorb it within a day to several days later. But the second kind of fluorescence that will show up on abductees is a procedural mark. In other words, on one doctor I examined,